everyone is already.
Recording is on.
Okay.
Lights, camera, action.
Sorry?
No, I just said lights, camera, action. Well, thanks everyone for joining the BizDev call. We're going to start with Anna from Gnosis.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I'm not sure if all of you have seen it already, but basically from Gnosis, we wanted to show a little bit more clearly how the DXDAO can already get some profits via running Mesa right now today. And so basically what I posted in the DXDAO Mesa Keybase chat last week is that there's a 5K GNO reward based on the volume that is generated, not only via Mesa, but the Gnosis protocol in general. Because what we have noticed is that a couple of the IDOs, and the IDOs are the use case that are currently bringing most of the volume to Gnosis protocol, are sometimes forking the interface. So it wouldn't be justified to just give a GNO reward based on volume generated by Mesa, but general volume generated on Gnosis protocol. And so basically, not sure how to share my screen here, but I can also just name the numbers. So basically, yeah, there's a 5K overall reward if until December 31st, a trading volume of 200 million is reached. However, there's already a proportional payout depending on every single bit of volume that is being achieved. So basically, even if the milestones aren't met, there will still be a proportional payout. And the cut-off date for this to start was 3 or 4 weeks ago now. It was when there was $55 million volume on Gnosis protocol. Now there's already more than 10 million more. So that means that the DXDAO has already received 100 GNO reward as of today, a bit more than that actually. And this will continue. The more volume there is, the more GNO reward for the DXDAO. And it's actually proportionally going to increase. So there's a couple of milestones that the higher the milestones that is achieved, the more proportionally the payout even is. And so yeah, there's also already a couple of more IDOs lined up for the next month. So the likelihood is good that there will be quite a lot of more volume, hence quite a lot of more GNO payout to the DXDAO. We currently, as an Oracle, only have the Dune dashboard. Let me see if I can share a link here. Chat. Yeah, perfect. So this is basically where you can always see exactly what volume has currently been reached. And yeah, like I said, basically every volume counts, not only the one that's generated through Mesa. So the idea is that if you like, we could also like kind of brainstorm together what would be ways how the DXDAO could support in generating even more volume on Gnosis protocol. So like I said, a few things are lined up already anyways and will happen. But of course, there's different ways of how working together we could boost the volume even more. So I guess to keep it short here is to see if there would anyone be interested who's currently on the call to have a little brainstorming on this. I have a couple of ideas already. I don't want to take up everyone's time, but if there is a few people here on this call who would be interested in boosting the volume, hence getting more GNO for the DXDAO, would be great if you let me know. And then we could have a little brainstorming session on this together. If you have questions, let me know as well, please.
Yeah, awesome. Anna, so do you have do any ideas come to mind for what like the DXDAO could potentially do to increase the volume aside from getting more IDOs to happen?
For sure. So one basic idea, for example, would be that currently what we have noticed is that the IDOs often immediately switch to Uniswap. Basically, after the IDO has been done, the liquidity moves to Uniswap. One thing that we could do is that often the IDO projects approach us and they actually do need our help to set this up and also answer questions during the IDO coming in from the users. And I think one way what we could do is that we, the next time projects contact us, we say, yes, no problem, we can help you, the DXDAO can help you, and of course, Gnosis will always be there to help as well, whatever is needed. But we could say, we help setting you up the IDO in the sense of helping you understand what kind of strategy would be best for you to do, help you maybe with the marketing by like cross-tweeting that this IDO is going to take place, and help you supporting with incoming questions during the days of the IDO. But in return, the project needs to promise that they will provide liquidity via a CMM script for, I don't know, maybe 4 to 12 weeks after the IDO took place. And the neat thing is, even when they set up the CMM strategy, there's ways how they can do this, which almost require 0 ETH, or actually even require 0 ETH. So it really is more just of an upside for the IDO project as well. But that would help bootstrap liquidity on the token even after the sale has finished. And I think that could potentially significantly add to more volume as well.
Gotcha. We could take that into account for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, a simple thing you guys could do, I'm not sure if that's of interest, but you could use the GNO that you already receive and set up some of the CMM strategy yourselves. Hence, you would basically boost the liquidity further. This is not the number one use case of this, but there's multiple ways how we can brainstorm or even advertise the IDO use case more and so on. Yeah, there's a couple of different ways, and I would be happy to have a follow-up call with whoever would be interested to work on this a little bit, so we could discuss this further.
Cool. Any more questions?
This might be kind of going in a little bit off the path, but I know I think there's plans to deploy Gnosis protocol to XDAI, right? And so I think DXDAO is planning to basically follow Gnosis into the depths of XDAI, right? So we're gonna do, I think like Omen is probably gonna go. I don't know about Mesa maybe as well. So I'm almost wondering, because I think one of the things that really hurts Gnosis protocol and Mesa on mainnet, like outside of IDOs, is just the gas costs, right? So I'm almost wondering if does it make sense to also focus a bit on like what's happening on XDAI?
For sure. For Omen, yes, that would be a super clear use case, I think, to deploy it in XDAI. And I know for Mesa, it's also in the talks. The question, however, is with an IDO project, I think that's a little bit more risky for them to conduct an IDO on XDAI. So I'm not so sure they would actually do this, and that would be the best solution. But yeah, it's definitely something to consider. And if it comes, if this incentive program that we currently discuss is running until end of December, and it depends a little bit on how quickly the XDAI deployment would happen, right? That if then it does make sense to bootstrap liquidity on XDAI as well, then of course that would also be part of the incentive program. I think that we should discuss once we have more clarity on what kind of use cases we actually want, because my understanding so far is that deploying Gnosis protocol on XDAI should be acting more as an advanced testnet rather than actually conducting very high volume transactions.
Yeah, it's also like another idea how we actually can boost trading volume is by actually getting a connection from the DXDAO to the Gnosis protocol, which means, we're already planning to provide liquidity on DXSwap. There's also like the opportunity to do like custom market making on Gnosis protocol. And the cool thing is like once we actually like install the trading bot into Gnosis protocol throughout the DXDAO, we don't actually need to do much. We just can like observe how the trading bot is actually working and making money. And we have like assets we can let do some work. So that's something which is like, and we need a connection to Gnosis protocol anyway if we want to like sell stuff for stable coins.
Yeah, I think Gnosis protocol is a natural place for the DXDAO to manage the treasury because you can't really do it on DXSwap with the slippage, or it might be a bad idea. And that's, I mean, in terms of like where we are in terms of dev work to make that happen. I think this DXSwap scheme it's a multi-call and can actually be used to integrate with Gnosis protocol as well. So it's kind of the groundwork's being set on the dev side to integrate with Gnosis protocol, but there's some extra work to actually figure out what needs to be done on the Gnosis protocol side.
The other
Go ahead.
Oh, the other cool thing is if we do get Omen on XDAI, which becomes like a maybe slightly slower, lower value market, but really fun, lots of different trading and stuff. My understanding is the whole point of Mesa existing is that you can trade these like lower volume, like random tokens, right? And so by having Mesa on XDAI, the first use case could be the trading of all of these like cool little Omen markets. And that could be like a good way to test Mesa on XDAI.
Just to hop on that, that was going to be my thought on what to do for XDAI is like, obviously IDOs are the product market fit for Mesa on layer 1, but I don't think that's going to be true for Mesa on XDAI or any other layer 2. So I think we'd have to basically think about, completely other things and potentially other incentive programs. And as you said, maybe that's something that's like a month, 2 months away before we do that. And the last thing I'd say is even on the treasury front, I agree with John there. And I also think there's actually a product there for other DAOs to manage their treasury, because I think like the auction mechanisms of Gnosis protocol could really be used for these on-chain capital pools. So yeah.
A little bit unrelated, I have one question. For the GNO payout, would you actually prefer to wait until year end to get the full GNO payout that the DXDAO is eligible for, or would you rather want them to be paid out by milestone? So whenever the next milestone is achieved, get the GNO paid out. Any preference on that?
I missed the first question. I'm sorry.
Given time, preference, of money, the DAO would always rather have it sooner than later.
All right.
But this is crypto. There's no time value of money.
Time preference of money.
Time preference.
For sure, because like you just said, Anna, like we could use it in programs and things, and
Cool. Will do.
Yeah. I mean, I'd also be interested about we should talk about kind of what to do with that in general. Obviously, like things are sent to the curve in terms of revenue, but if this is something that's kind of consistent, I don't know if this is like an area for, we think about liquidity provisioning across DXDAO products, how we should consider that, but.
Yeah, and are there expectations from the Gnosis side as to what DXDAO would do with the GNO? Because I mean, for example, when DMM DAO gave the DMG, the DXDAO was like, the idea was to use it for voting. And so like DXDAO basically can't like sell it according to the proposal and agreement that was made.
I mean, there's no specific demand of what it's being used for, but the idea of course is that as different things that we are currently working on, that the value of GNO is going to increase, and also that there's becoming more clear usage out of the GNO in the next couple of months. So from our perspective, of course, what would be ideal, but again, like there's no specific demand that we said, would be that the majority is rather kept and then used for future use cases and increasing the value. If that's clear. So basically, yeah, I mean, I can't say too much just yet, but basically, yeah, the idea is, I mean, especially, I think right now it would make sense just to use that GNO maybe to get even more rewards. And then, of course, I guess there is some percentage that I don't know what your plans would be to use with it, but to some extent, it would also make sense because we want also this alliance of goals between the DXDAO and Gnosis, right, to some extent. And of course, you guys holding GNO also helps to keep this alignment in place.
Right. Yeah, I think that just to kind of explain the perspective, because I agree we need to kind of figure out what that alignment is, but to DXD holders, right, the like revenue of DXDAO is like they have a claim on that revenue, and the way they get that claim is by sending things into the curve, and the only things that can go into the curve right now are ETH. We're in like we're in a big discussion on like, I don't know, not completely changing that model, but basically making it where possible where there would be more capital support for DXD, not just from ETH, because we're seeing opportunities like you're saying of like, well, we don't need to just like, we can use this Gnosis to manage our other DXDAO products and actually create more revenue and value for DXD holders in the end, right? But we need to figure out a way to make those things like compliant with how we support the price of DXD. Yeah, but I mean, that's kind of why I think, because especially, I think it makes sense if you guys are if there's going to be a long-term like GNO is kind of reward, pay, different things back and forth, like that should not be something that we're selling the whole time, because that'd be kind of silly. Then you should pay us kind of in something else. So we need to figure out like if that's kind of the way the we were going to work. We need to figure out how that is better long term, but also kind of fulfills the DXD revenue mandate.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's also an interesting point. Are there plans currently to kind of diversify the portfolio of tokens that can feed into the curve?
Well, I love the organic nature of the curve. It's like I threw some GNO into the curve and it just spat it right back out the other day. No, I'm joking. So I don't because I'm not as familiar with the curve, but more as but yeah, I mean, I think it right now is only ETH. That's just because that's what that's how you mint new DXD.
Yeah,
so like
technically, the curve itself can only accept Ether right now. So then that kind of leaves it on the DXDAO itself to manage the treasury and like send the Ether through. But there's sort of these like rough plans to reevaluate how the bonding curve works and like how it ties into the treasury. And so I think that's probably something that should be assessed, is like how to actually accept revenues in non-Ether tokens, because it sort of stinks to have to convert everything into Ether to send it through the curve, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Any final thoughts? All right. Thanks for coming on, Anna.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Next, I'd like to bring up the DeepDAO advertising and valuation proposal with Eyal and Lorray. You guys there?
They're muted. I don't know if they know they're muted. They both have issues with their mics. Should see. Sometimes restarting the browser helps. Yeah, or maybe we could bounce around until there.
I sent a link to their full DAO value discovery proposal. If anyone wants to browse it. I guess in the meantime, I can talk about content updates. I think Rails is looking to go live, I think, potentially this week, or at least get to the IPFS hash part that gets proposed on Alchemy, which is exciting. We've had an article waiting to go out for that, and I'm excited for Zoran to get that published. I have an Omen updates blog post that that is pretty much finished, and just needs a banner from our design wizard Zet before that goes out. Corgus, do you have a preference for over like where it gets published? Like, is my medium okay for like better circulation, or do you prefer it's like within like the Omen medium?
We do have an Omen medium.
Yeah, it has one logo on it.
I mean, it's up to you. You're the writer. I don't actually mind if it's from your brand coming.
Okay.
What is the rest thinking?
Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Oh, yes.
Oh, hey. Sorry. Okay, just continue what you guys are already discussing. Sorry about the microphone issue.
Okay. Yeah. When Eyal's ready, or whenever he is, he can just jump in. What else? What else is going on? We have Chris Powers showing up at Fluidity 2020, which is exciting. He's going to have a presentation for that, and he'll be interviewed by Shinju.
Just quickly on that, because we have a topic, and I think it's one I want to think about over the next couple of weeks. But I've talked to Elon about this and others, but it's going to be reputation-based governance and kind of contrasting that with token-based governance. So I think we have kind of the idea, but nothing else. So if you have anything about that you're thinking, shoot it my way.
Yeah, and I think on that, like, we should get some of Vitalik stuff and incorporate that into the messaging.
Yeah.
All right. I'd like to bring up the other bullet points for the sake of time. So if Eyal can't hop in now, I'd like to bring up the proposal for a Luna social. Eyal, can you speak?
Yes, I can speak finally.
There we go.
All right, excellent.
Back in the action.
Should I go?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so there are two things we wanted to talk about. One is the ad that DXDAO has on our site, and the other one is the DAO evaluation proposal that we put on DAO Talk a few days ago. So regarding the ad, I wanted to give you some numbers, and we have just under 2K views, which I think is pretty good. And so far 45 clicks. So it's probably not going to be much of a recruiting tool, but I think there's pretty clearly a branding value to it, since these are the ecosystem people that that go on DeepDAO. And the question is, we need to decide on, this is a 3-month commitment, so we need to see if we're submitting the proposal for next month. And I'd like to get the community's response and maybe brainstorm about the ad, or maybe changing the ad a little bit to become more of a branding ad instead of a recruiting tool. Right at this point.
Yeah, maybe I'll jump in and give some context. So I think that, like, what we've seen is that it's really like DeepDAO as a portal for DAOs has a lot of traffic from kind of very experienced users like VCs or researchers, journalists, and these sort. So recruiting obviously like is a high target to reach, and it's been great as a leading DAO in the ecosystem, showing the products, so Mesa and Omen and stuff. And then we were thinking of potentially like focusing on that because we already saw that it generated inbound requests for the ad placement, and basically we were thinking what could be the highest value of positioning an ad there. So we're thinking of basically bringing it to discussion in this call. Anyone?
I was wondering if you guys could talk a little bit before getting to talk a little bit about kind of content on DeepDAO. I know you guys just went through this big, I guess I don't know if it was V2, but at least the overall there, it looks great with lots of new info. I'm just kind of wondering what type of content you see kind of morphing DeepDAO into, or is that kind of the current stat heavy one, leaderboards or what else? And I know you guys are doing these reports, so I'm curious about the content strategy.
Yeah, like roadmap perhaps for what would be there.
I can say a couple of things on this, actually. So we're continuing to list platforms. And currently, I'm already doing the coding part for another platform, which I think is exciting. I don't want to share it right now because it's still in development, but I'm pretty sure this is a high-profile DAO platform right now, or DAO-like, and now I'm probably going to trigger some people guessing which one is it, but I'll leave it to that for now. And so this is one thing that would definitely increase traffic and really would increase interest because it's going to be a little bit different. And the other one is something that we've been working on for a while. Ivan and I have been working on a health score or a central.
Did we lose the man?
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah, I think what he was going to finish up saying there was that Ivan and Eyal are actually working on the health score, which is kind of like the listing criteria and how we come about listing a DAO on DeepDAO. So, Eyal, we can hear you.
Yeah, can people hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Continue on the health score there. I see his power bars going red.
Yeah, right. So health score actually covers quite a few things there on whether it's the decentralization. I hope Eyal will jump in to fill in more, but decentralization, so like basically distribution of power, number of members. So there's like a bit of insights that you get from a few factors there, and health score is like the output that gives you an indicator for that, and it's a dynamic thing naturally. So yeah, basically like we'll start sharing a bit more insights on that as well. Eyal, I see that you're green now. Maybe you want to fill in.
Sure. So I'm sorry, but I missed the last minute or so. What were you saying, Daniel?
I just gave the high level idea of the health score, but maybe it's best if you share a bit more in detail.
Yeah, so the health score was really on our site right from the start, and the idea is to provide a catch-all for the level of decentralization. Really, it's a decentralization score. So we're taking several metrics into account. You know, the number of members, the number of recent proposals, and of course the voting power distribution, which is a pretty important one. So we're playing with it, and we're trying to get it right. But it's really, we're going to release it in a labs format. So it's not going to be the final version, because really, and this is where Ivan and I are having a little bit of a discussion, there's not going to be just one score to measure a DAO. For example, there's a question of whether you're using the AUM as a measurement. So a DAO with a lot of activity over nothing is worth one thing, and the DAO with medium activity over a lot of money is worth another. But also there's importance for a DAO just without the AUM. You can measure that as well. So this is what we're doing. We think it's really exciting. We think it's a really important metric, and it would satisfy the 5-second user, the user who comes into to our site and wants to see in 5 seconds exactly where his DAO is standing and where other DAOs are standing. So it's a really good entry point into understanding our data. And again, we're taking a first stab into it.
On the health metric score, I mean, and this is kind of maybe selfishly motivated, but I think one of the things that might be interesting to see, just to like kind of throw something out there for that I think differentiates DXDAO from a lot of the other, you know, let's say DAOs and air quotes on the site, is that like how many active worker proposals are there? Like how many people are actually getting paid directly from these DAO treasuries to do work for these DAOs?
Yeah, this is a really good one. I'm actually taking notes.
Just something I was thinking about looking at it right now.
Yeah, I would also add maybe to allow the community to set like how they want to sort it, sort of like, I don't know, like community type sortings. Yeah, someone would make a PR with their formula on how to take all of the parameters that you have and aggregate them into a score. That could be cool.
Yeah, actually, this would be on the API that we'll release. So you'll be able to get the data and get it filtered by time range, which I think is really important. You know, activity 6 months ago is not the same as activity now, and so on and so forth. So yeah, we're still debating whether we're going to release the secret sauce or keep it to ourselves at this point, but we'll see how the community reacts and go from there. And you know, if I'm sliding for a minute to the DAO evaluation proposal. So in response to John's questions, I wrote something about DXDAO's particular brand of governance, which I'm really an admirer of, because I played in activist politics a little bit, and I know how hard it is to do what we're doing right now. You know, sitting and listening and concentrating and having 20 people on the call and brainstorming together. And I don't know at this point how to quantify it, you know, how to actually give it a number. But I think it's something that as we go in the DAO ecosystem and in crypto, as we go deeper into governance, understanding how soft governance, like this call, is important, is really something that we should push forward. So yeah, the first version of the decentralization score is not going to include that, but it's really something that needs to be kept alive. Anyone wants to comment?
Yeah, I guess we like things on chain. And so I'm thinking like the kind of valuation, like that's kind of like DXDAO's, all of its assets and all the things it kind of wants to promote is to figure out how to get more things off chain. So I kind of see us as like a downstream recipient of this type of like the valuation stuff, because it's something that like we're not trying yet, because once it's on chain, then we can kind of figure out how to interact with it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the grant proposal, the main bulk of the work is evaluating the stuff that is on chain, and really for other DAOs, other assets, because other DAOs would own real world assets, like real estate, for example. So, or investments. You know, you may not own a product directly, but you may own an investment on the product. So you have equity, and you need to evaluate this stuff. But just from my experience in communities, of course, we all want everything to be on chain. It's really the exciting thing about blockchain DAOs, and decisions to be binding, so that nobody can go back and all that, all the good things. But I also totally understand the value of people communicating and coming to an understanding and coming to a strategy that we can all stand behind. This is very hard to do, and it has a lot of value, in my opinion.
Do you guys have an idea of what methodology might be, kind of just like roughly? I know we're on a call, we don't have a lot of time, but like roughly speaking, like what are you looking at in terms of valuation as pertains to DXDAO, and like how that might even work, especially given that DXDAO is kind of pre-revenue at the moment, and then what other DAOs kind of would even like be possible to look at in a similar light?
Yeah, so I wish Ivan was here, because he's the guy who can talk about it in a more broad way than myself. But what I would do is sit down with you guys and list all the assets that you own, so that we know what we're looking for, and then start to consult with experts on how to evaluate them. You know, so a crypto economist, for example, is one expert that comes to mind, and crypto accounting firms, if they exist already, which I think they should. So yeah, look for the people who can provide numbers to your assets, and you know, when you come to evaluate anything, you don't just look at the current revenue. You look at projections and all these good things that economists would talk about more intelligently than me. So this first step is really about building the methodology and taking a few example DAOs like DXDAO, which I think is a classic example, but and start the process. And you know, something like the DAO or Venture DAO is also a good DAO to do this, because they own investments, and maybe a couple of Aragon DAOs that has governance rights over protocols is also something that is worth evaluating and understanding. So this is the first kind of pool of DAOs that we want to run this on.
Yeah, I wonder if we should set up maybe a separate, because we're running out of time here, to set up a separate call to kind of dig into like what this would look like and kind of get more feedback from the DXDAO side as to like, you know, what would be interesting from the DXDAO side. Because I guess I'm not really sure. Yeah, I'm still a little unclear on what exactly the motivation would be for this from the DXDAO side. But I think in general, there's a lot to analyze. And I mean, I think the DeepDAO site is a really cool project to kind of, for DXDAO to be involved in general. That's just my 2 cents.
I can set up a call with everyone if you guys just DM me on Keybase. Sound good?
Yeah, I'd love to have that call.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I would also just want to add that maybe we need to set goals for this, like, and who's the target audience that's going to read it? Because I'm assuming it's not going to be DXDAO members. And then, you know, by setting the goals and what we want from this and the audience that's going to read it, I think we'll be able to structure what this will be exactly. So yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks, Lorraine and Eyal. All right, I'm going to share the document of the Luna governance as a service / like advisory proposal. It's not just about governance, but I tried to weigh in like the value for on their side and the value for our side, and it's divided between cross-platform integration. So Luna Social it's like a social platform, but for traders, and there's leaderboards. There's a feed showing what the people you follow like recently did on exchanges, and it's a pretty cool like trader-oriented social platform. And having them integrate DXDAO products would be, you know, a win for both communities, I would say, as well as merging our marketing channels, creating content regarding these integrations and regarding how we're helping them with the governance of their community and their product, which I'm not like 100% clear on how it's going to work, but I know that they're gonna, like, their first idea is to have like a YFI fork governance on their platform. So I believe that the ALN token will be used in some sense for that. So just general governance advisory on that, having some kind of DXDAO representation in their Discord, or, you know, I guess reporting on their proposals was just an idea that I had. Having like an emissary, like just show DXDAO presence on their side, and it doesn't have to be like one guy. It could be like one representative. That could be a rotation. And for the DXDAO, I think we'd have, I guess, the support and the cross promotion from the Aluna community. We'd have for sure an Aluna liquidity pool on DXSwap with like ALN incentives going to those liquidity providers, providing specifically on DXSwap. So I think that's great for us, and a percentage of their ALN tokens for 1 year of general advisory, at least, I suppose, and you know, 12,000 to cover any sort of costs for whatever development integrations we might have to have, and just time, so that we don't have to necessarily, like, you know, liquidate ALN tokens from the start. So that was my idea. I think this would be great to have like a formal like action plan with this proposal, a real governance as a service engagement happening. That's it, guys. I'd love to know your thoughts.
I really like this. I mean, I think Aluna's maybe not as like high profile as something like DMM or whatever, but they seem very willing to cooperate. And I think because of that, it could be, I mean, in some ways it's good, right? Because we're just launching some things and we're kind of trying to figure out some of this governance as a service. So we need partners that are willing to like get in the trenches with us kind of and get dirty with us and like not have necessarily the highest expectations either. So I think they're a great potential partner in that sense. And it could also serve as a really good example of like how to other projects in the future of how this can work.
Yeah. So
I'm actually bullish on that partnership. I guess it's the first partnership I'm actually excited about because the product looks legit. It's useful. It has users. So yeah, I'm looking forward to like, I think that is like a good way where we can make sure that we engage with the collective itself to help out this project and actually show them how powerful a collective can be. Which means it's like I actually using that product. So like the collective is actually trying out that product and trying to use it. And maybe there are ways to, I don't know, be present as a collective on that on Aluna Social.
And I can speak to their history a little bit too, because we actually worked with them like over a year ago, doing some contracting work with them from Level K. And I'm not even the one who told them about DXDAO. I think they kind of independently got in touch with Ingemar, but they've been around for a couple of years. Like they know the space pretty well. They're not just like showing up because of yield farming or something. And even with the prediction games, they've been talking about that for over a year. So this isn't something they're just like making up. Like they've been planning on doing this for a while.
Yeah, I just want to add that I think this could be a very interesting initiative for the DXDAO to do these sort of partnerships. The thing is that picking the wrong person to partner with, like if DXDAO is going to partner with someone who's going to sort of exit scam, I don't think this is something that we want to do, and so like there's some due diligence burden here. So yeah, just the fact that you know them, John, I mean, it's great. And then I think like moving forward, this is a pretty great, I don't know, I want to say product. It's not really a product, but it's a really great thing that we can offer to, I guess, promising projects that we think as a DAO that we should kind of, I don't know, tie the success of both projects together, because this is what it is at the end of the day. And yeah, like kind of was on this document with Ingemar yesterday, I think, and I think this is like the beginning. This first iteration is not going to be perfect, and I don't know, like we're asking him for 12K. That might be too much. That might not be enough, depending on the client. So this is an experiment, I guess. But yeah, I would like to see more of these.
Yeah, I think to simplify it, I think it's something to point to, or it could be something to point to when we're discussing with other projects, when we're looking for like ways of cooperation and partnership. And I think once you get like, okay, there was a DMM, and then we have this one, those are like substantive enough that you could kind of use that as a basis to build a lot more. And I will say, like, we've talked a lot about governance as a service around here, and I'm always kind of like joking that I feel like I know what it is, but I can't really like word it. But this was like this is a really concise, coherent way of kind of framing, I think, a lot of the different offerings there. So I thought it was really good. in addition to like kind of the due diligence side of things, it's also important to just remember like what is being asked of the DXDAO. And so just going through the doc and thinking about making sure that we can comply with all those. But I think this is definitely a good start. And then I think the only other thing I would think of is kind of maybe going back to the beginning of the call is putting in some of those like either the CMMs on Mesa or the DX swap, that kind of like liquidity incentives program. If there's a way of like also getting some long-term alignment on or commitment from both sides on that, I think it's a good opportunity to do that, especially as you're talking about how like liquid, like how the DXDAO should like lock up the tokens. I think we should be clear, we're probably going to put the tokens like in one of the DXDAO products and support liquidity for ALM, but I think that's probably what they would want. But that might be the next step that we could figure about here. But yeah, I think this is a really great doc.
Yeah, and like to add on to this is that perhaps if they would use the same governance system as like the DXDAO. I mean, right now it's DAO stack. Hopefully, like this will evolve into something that allows better like DAO to DAO interactions. This could also create a sort of network effect around DXDAO with all these neighboring DAOs that we also share governance in. So that's kind of like another aspect of this.
Or just integrate into, right? Like if DXDAO just like has, is integrated in voting in some other way with all these different types of DAO types, that kind of gives us an advantage, I think, as the space grows and expands.
Right. So there will be an unknown amount of, I guess, time and effort put into this, I guess, from a dev perspective and from just an overall like attention standpoint. So like I could totally see like someone showing up like occasionally on their Discord channel and just monitoring or having like a developer regularly like discuss integrations with them, maybe bi-weekly or something like that. So I think that's something to keep. Yeah, exactly. Like an emissary or an ambassador. I really like that though, because like it just shows how big we can get. Like we've got we've got influence and like real stake in other projects that are trying to move move things forward for the industries. So yeah, I think it will require like time from people. And I don't know if we're at the point where we could ask for people to like take this on, but I'm trying to carve out a way for like funding for that, so that it's not just like charity work. So if you guys are all good with this, I'll just send that to Alvin and we can see what he thinks.
But Ingemar, before you send it, I actually think anything that requires technical work, we need to take a double look at, because DXDAO can't even do all the technical stuff we already need to do. So anything that's not technical, we should have in there and we can add value. But like technical integrations shouldn't be promised in this thing, because if they're who's going to do that work is still way up in the air, and you don't want to put like certain requirements in that maybe like 5 months from now that technical integration still hasn't happened.
Yeah, totally. I was thinking maybe not necessarily someone building with them, but perhaps just consulting them on what they might need from the DXDAO to just hand over so they can integrate as easily as possible. But I don't know if it has to necessarily, I can probably word it differently so that it doesn't really promise what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's like a lot of this consulting is like the angle to do, because that's like where you don't have as much asked of you on a demanding basis. So I think there are a couple other places in the document where we might like pare back some of the language, because obviously when you're sending these documents, you want to promise the world, but like at the end of the day, it's, you know, requires things. So like there is like full Twitter support, right? And like I don't know what full Twitter support means. It could mean like, you know, they tweeting 100 times a day and we have to like also do that. But or even like the fair launch on Mesa, like I'm pretty sure it should be fair, but if it's like not fair, I don't know if they should be like coming to DXDAO. But I think like, yeah, just some wording that we can massage through.
All right, so hopefully I can get some edits from you guys so that like we're all just Gucci with this before sending it in. That's cool. All right.
Sorry, what does Gucci mean?
So that we're all good.
Catch up, Chris. Catch up.
What is?
Okay,
That's a joke. Your hat is Gucci.
All right.
I mean, you linked to their proposal from DAO Talk in this document. I think we should just make sure it's like, I mean, a lot of this stuff is in their DAO Talk proposals, right? So just to make sure that when you send it to them, that it's clear that we're acknowledging their previous proposals as well.
Correct. Wait, so what should I say differently? Should I just say like, oh, I just give a better preamble to this than just like.
Yeah, maybe more. I mean, you link to it, so it's there, like it's acknowledged. But I mean, I mean, a lot of this is they've already kind of suggested, right? Which is good because it means they're going to be receptive to it. But
yeah, cool. So I know we don't have a terribly high amount of time left. I would like to just bring up that I had a marketing department outlined in a thread, which I will pull for you guys right here. And I'll just kind of run through it. So like I've had some great help from a few people here and there. Zoran with the writing, Bucket with random things like Twitter to Telegram bots, and that naming competition that gave us Rails. And we've had Mike Eli help with the Bankless Media appearance for John. So this was sort of about tying them together. So it's more of like a team than just people pitching in at different points. So the idea was I had just having like an official marketing department where we had Zoran regularly writing and pitching to publications, for bounties. And I know that Bucket is interested in helping out in like at least a part-time capacity, which is great. I think quite a few of us know Bucket and appreciate what he's done. And I know Mike is very, very interested in helping out as well. He has created like an Asana with like a content calendar and with objectives and things like that. And it's kind of helped me sort of just put like all the things that's in my head just on a screen. So I think he's really great at like administrating this sort of stuff. So I think he'd be really helpful, and he has a lot of great ideas in mind. I know that you guys don't know him as well, so it might take a bounty or two more for, I guess, just to like get comfortable with him. But I guess my intention is to have like this be a team now. I just want to know your thoughts.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah,
I think.
I was just going to say quickly.
Yeah,
the content calendar, I think things are great. I'm thinking, I do feel like we need to take a step back and look at some of these things like more strategically and thinking about like brand at a high level. And maybe I was just looking for, maybe that is in the Asana board, kind of the objectives. because yeah, this is just like as it's an opportunity to kind of not just be thinking about like how to create content, but like what content to create and what are we trying to achieve. So.
Yeah, I want to add this is a great initiative, and I think just the fact that there is an Asana board and there is like some sort of I want to say like project management or any sort of organization in what exactly we're doing. I think this is great, and I think yeah, I mean we should use a tool like this. And yeah, I think for now we're going to have to compromise with something that is centralized. But yeah, like this is I think it's needed for more than just marketing. So yeah.
All right, cool. I already know that Mike has put together a proposal of things that he'd like to do. Just to show you guys how proactive he's been. I think he'd be a great help, and I just want you guys to see it and like just be familiar with him as like the weeks go on.